Hey there, welcome to another episode of our Technical Tips, our motorcycle advice series. In today's episode, we'll be talking about preparing your motorcycle for a trip, how to pack, and what to take care of before you set off on a journey, on a motorcycle trip. And our base for this will be the BMW F750 GS motorcycle. I guess I'm a bit obsessed because every time I prepare my motorcycle for a trip, I start by replacing or checking the condition of the drive system. It's largely responsible for the fact that we can actually ride. If you're planning to ride 10, 20, or 30,000 kilometers, you definitely need to remember to replace the drive system with a new one. First of all, because the chain will be under much more strain during the trip. Above all, there's a lot of sand, dust, the motorcycle is loaded, often with a second passenger, so the wear happens faster. And there's one more small detail. You'll never be able to take care of lubricating the chain as well as you can at home. It's just a fact. There are places where you won't find chain lubricant, so you'll have to use regular oil and so on and so forth. Preparing a motorcycle for a trip isn't just about current repairs. It's also about scheduled maintenance services. And here we have to remember that from time to time we need to adjust the valves, adjust the valve clearance so that the motorcycle runs properly. If we forget about this, the engine simply won't work as it will stall at idle, and starting it when cold will be much more difficult. And remember that in less technologically developed countries, it may be hard to find a service center where you can adjust the valve clearance using shims. When preparing your motorcycle for an expedition or a trip, you need to pay attention to its technical condition. The cable, especially the clutch cable, because I assume you probably have hydraulics on the right side, that is on the brake. If you squeeze the clutch and feel any resistance or something catching, it means the cable needs to be replaced and its lifespan is probably coming to an end. We don't lubricate cables with oil, especially if you ride an enduro motorcycle, because dust, sand, and dirt will get into the housing and the cable will wear out even faster. Of course, oil can save the day if the cable is already really seized up, but it will very quickly lead to the complete destruction of the inside of the housing and the cable itself, which is simply made of steel. Moreover, if you are preparing your motorcycle and have it disassembled, it's worth running a second clutch cable under the tank, so that one end comes out here and the other at the engine. This way, you'll avoid having to take apart the whole motorcycle and remove the tank while on the road. Because remember that disassembling the motorcycle, including the tank and all its components, is quite risky. You could always strip a screw or break a wire, and you need to minimize that risk. So we installed the second cable as well. There's one more small note we shouldn't forget, especially if you're going on an enduro trip. So I'm talking about that small part which connects the chain links, namely the chain master link. Always take it with you. Don't keep it in your pockets. Don't keep it in your top case because it will definitely get lost. The best way is to fasten it onto your clutch cable, secure it gently so it doesn't fall off, and it will always be with you, and it will definitely come in handy in a critical situation far from home, far away, and high up in the mountains. Motorcycle journeys are a huge challenge, not only for the rider, but also for the motorcycle itself. After all, we often ride on very poor quality roads, off-road, over rocks, and that's when our wheels are especially vulnerable to damage. The most common issue is a punctured tire or a bent rim. In such cases, an inner tube will undoubtedly prove helpful. Without an inner tube, the air will definitely escape because we have a bent wheel or a cut tire. However, thanks to the inner tube, we are able to get to the city, perform the necessary service, repair or replace the tire or wheel, and continue riding. There are two schools of thought. One says you should install the inner tube before setting out. Personally, I follow the principle of taking an inner tube with me in the trunk, forgetting about it for a while, but in a critical situation, I have it on hand, put it inside the wheel, and keep going. There's one more small thing we need to mention. If you're going on a trip, you need to take an extra valve with you. If you cut your tire, get a flat, and put in an inner tube, you won't be able to go back to the tubeless system unless you have a spare valve in your pocket. The cost is practically zero, and the safety is quite significant. Should you take spare tires with you? I'm not a fan of that solution. You have to buy them anyway, so it's better to buy them in a big city, 10 kilometers, 10,000 kilometers from home, rather than carrying them with you every day for 2-3 weeks or a month, taking them off and putting them back on every time you set up camp or pitch your tent. That's extra weight. Weight is priceless when you're traveling, and anyone who has had to lift their motorcycle 10, 20, or 30 times a day knows this all too well. If you find yourself in a place where you can't find chain lubricant in automotive stores, and believe me, there are such places in the world, then we simply use engine oil. We apply it to the chain using a small brush or a syringe. Here, you really have a lot of options. Any tool will do. The most important thing is that the chain is lubricated. Without a doubt, comfort is very important for a motorcyclist, and certain accessories will prove essential here. A lot of people laugh at beads or sheepskin on the seat, but anyone who has ridden a motorcycle for a month, 2, or half a year knows how helpful these accessories can be. Thanks to the beads and sheepskin, our behinds can simply breathe. We don't sweat as much, and the comfort is much greater, much higher. Of course, you won't notice this after just a few hours of riding, but believe me, after a few days or weeks of traveling from morning till night, it will be much more comfortable. When preparing your motorcycle for a trip, you can't forget about the right tools and additional items you need to take with you. Without a doubt, the brake and clutch levers would be very important. If you fall, the lever can break. Riding without, for example, a clutch lever can turn out to be very difficult. I probably don't need to tell you about the importance of the brake lever. Sometimes it's a very good idea to expand your toolkit with additional items. However, remember that if you don't know how to use certain tools, it's not worth taking them with you. They will only make your motorcycle heavier, and riding will become more difficult. Every gram matters here. When preparing your motorcycle for a trip, you need to carefully check which tools you will need. Here a certain distinction needs to be made. Japanese motorcycles very often require wrenches in sizes 10, 12, 14, 17, 19, and 21, while German motorcycles, European motorcycles, generally require wrenches in sizes 10, 13, 17, 19, 21, as well as a set of Torx bits, which will often turn out to be essential for disassembling your motorcycle. Should we choose open-end wrenches or socket wrenches? For me, the ideal solution is to take both systems, because an open-end wrench is more versatile, but with a socket wrench, we can loosen a given part with the less risk of damaging the bolt. Our toolkit also includes screwdrivers, flathead, and Phillips. And here we have to remember that a screwdriver is not a universal tool. Different sizes are also recommended. A small screwdriver will come in handy, as well as a medium and a large one. A large one, for example, can be an excellent helper when removing a tire, and if we use the wrong pH screwdriver, we can simply damage the screw head. That's not all. I definitely wouldn't go on any trip without these two tools. Regular pliers, which are very versatile, and wire cutters, especially important for electrical repairs. Anyone who has ever traveled by motorcycle knows how important panniers or saddlebags are. Which is better? I won't tell you that. There are two schools of thought here. Some people prefer saddlebags because they offer greater safety for the rider. In the event of an impact, they simply fall off, while others prefer panniers because they provide more protection for the motorcycle, act as a kind of shield, and prevent the gear inside from getting wet while riding, for example, in the rain. Remember that when packing your gear for a trip, the heaviest items should go into the side panniers, and you should try to place them as low as possible. This way, you lower the motorcycle's center of gravity, making it much easier to handle, especially when riding off-road. The motorcycle is now practically packed. There's just one detail left: documents, wallet, camera, and other small items. This is where a tank bag proves to be indispensable. It stays right between your hands at all times, so you don't have to worry about losing your gear. We live in times where a smartphone is an indispensable travel companion. And here, the cigarette lighter socket is very important, and this stage, it's not worth trying to save money. You need to buy one that won't break all the time, won't get flooded with water, and will simply work. Very often, one cigarette lighter socket just won't be enough. Two will come in handy, one in the front and another in the back, so that you can place extra equipment in a bag attached to the rear seat or rear rack and have it charging while you ride. That's all for today. See you in the next episode, and if you want to learn more, read Shuat Motocicli, because there you'll find more details, more tips, and of course, great articles and fantastic photos. Take care and see you next time.